What's up, combatants, and welcome back to our Mortal Kombat movie franchise in review. And this is our second video. We're going to take a look at Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
I was annihilated by Annihilation.
So welcome back. If you didn't watch our first review of the original Mortal Kombat 1995 movie, then I'll give you the rundown here. Basically, we thought it was a good idea to take a Mortal Kombat veteran and lore enthusiast, as myself, and a Mortal Kombat newbie, beginner to the franchise. So please welcome Alexa James, and she will be sitting with me through this whole journey that we're taking. The journey begins. That's a throwback to actually a really bad Mortal Kombat animated movie that we won't be reviewing in this franchise review.
We're supposed to review all the movies.
Maybe we'll review that after the new one comes out as a special bonus.
I don't think that's in my contract, all right?
I feel like I should mention, we did review this video last week. However, we had some audio issues. Unfortunately, the audio was so bad that we couldn't use it, but we looked good on it. But since then, it's been a week since we've watched the movie, and much of my thoughts I've tried to spend forgetting about it. So I'm trying to come back to this movie now and give, an actual review like I did last week.
Meanwhile, I can never forget. I am stuck in a fog, much like the fog that surrounds Shang Tsung's ship when he arrives to get everyone for Mortal Kombat. I'm still lost in that fog.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation was released November 21st, 1997. For reference, Mortal Kombat 4 was released on October 15th, 1997. That was in the arcade. It was then released for home consoles on June 23rd, 98. Mortal Kombat Mythologies, the side-scrolling action game, came out October 1st, 1997. So we had two Mortal Kombat games that were just released like a month before the movie came out. It was directed by John R. Leonetti, who has done a bunch of shit. And the only other movie that I feel like is worth mentioning in his filmography is Annabelle.
That's a really aggressive take.
His movies aren't very good. And actually, he was the director of photography, so he was the cinematographer for the first Mortal Kombat movie. But because so many people didn't come back for this one, they just kind of promoted a bunch of people who were on the crew from the first movie to positions that they had never been in before. And it shows. So this was John R. Leonetti's first directorial debut film. The movie was written by Lawrence Kasanoff, who I'm not going to go deep into it, but he's the producer of all that. He was basically the guy who pitched, hey, we can make this video game into like a movie and a TV show and an animated movie and a whole franchise and toys. Like, he was the one that, like, he saw Mortal Kombat and money signs started going. So anyway, he produced all this. There's a whole big story. Emoji. You can look it up on other YouTube videos. It's way too long for me to delve into. But anyway, he wrote this movie along with Josh Wevels? I can't read my own handwriting here.
Josh Robles?
And John Tobias, who was one of the creators of Mortal Kombat. I think he was probably just there for consulting.
For funsies.
It had a budget of $30 million, and it made $51.3 million. So it wasn't as big of a hit as the first one. I wonder why.
You can't tell just by trailers, especially not now, so I don't quite remember what it was like back in the 90s. You can't tell whether or not a movie is going to be good just based on that. Like, you can have an idea based on things that you've seen previously.
There have been plenty of times where I have seen a trailer and been like, that movie is going to be really bad. I, Frankenstein comes to mind.
Okay, but that's not a movie that we would generally be going to see. Like, if you saw a trailer for another Mortal Kombat movie, would you immediately just be like, that's going to be bad?
If the trailer looked bad, yeah.
Oh, boy.
It sits at a 2% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and has an 11 on Metacritic. So,
yikes.
That's where that falls. Oh, I can't believe I'm re-reviewing this fucking movie.
I'm excited. Let's do it again.
Okay, so we'll do a quick plot synopsis, then we'll get into the fights.
Plot synopsis?
If you want to call them that.
Plot synopsis from someone who has not seen this movie in a long time, and again, has almost little to no experience with Mortal Kombat. This movie starts off right away, immediately from where the original one ended. Cool. I'm already hopping in. It has a lot of energy, and I was like, this is gonna be B-movie bad. I am here for it.
It's like
I am psyched.
F-movie bad.
So I'm excited. They immediately start fighting because Shao Kahn is like, I hate all of you, rawr, I'm gonna defeat all of you. It's not even Mortal Kombat anymore, I'm just here. And they're fighting, and there's a lot of techno music, and
even the music wasn't that good. The soundtrack for the first one was better.
There yet.
Yeah. I just have a lot of anger.
He has a lot of anger. But my issue is then I get lost after this first moment of fighting in the film because it just keeps going, and the fights don't really mean anything to me as someone who is consuming this with, again, no knowledge of the franchise. Little to no knowledge. And it's just fight after fight after fight after fight, and I don't know which ones are important. I don't know which ones are just filler. I don't know who is important as a character or who should have a character arc here. It's just very bizarre. And that's my plot synopsis. There's a lot of punching, and I don't know if it means anything or not.
In the Mortal Kombat 3 storyline, Shao Kahn invades Earthrealm, and he does it because Sindel was born in Earthrealm, so it allows him to pass through the dimensional gates, and when he passes to claim his queen, when he passes through, then he brings all of his armies with and invades the Earthrealm. In this movie, they kind of adapted that, but they did it really poorly, and they didn't do a good job of explaining it, and the movie has no idea what it wants to be, and I can't even really tell you what the plot is or why he does it. He just kind of invades Earth against the wishes of the Elder Gods, and then Raiden's like, Kitana's love for Sindel will break the spell, and then he'll get banished back to Outworld, and it just doesn't make any sense. Kills Johnny Cage. When I was younger in the theaters, Johnny Cage was my favorite character, and I immediately was like, well, this movie sucks, I don't want to watch it again. And I was pissed off the whole rest of the movie, and it just got worse because the movie is bad. So yeah, then we get to this part where they have to travel through Earthrealm in these giant hamster ball things.
Oh, I love the hamster ball.
That doesn't make sense.
I love the hamster ball. The CGI is so bad, and they make no sense, and they give another beautiful, awkward, sexual, romantic tension to my boy Liu Kang and Kitana, where they're like, hee, we've already kissed, and we've definitely established by the end of the first movie that we're totally dating, but then they are rolling, and they get all smushed up next to each other, and they're like, oh, did I do that?
I didn't even mention that most of the characters from the first movie didn't even return. We got no-name guy for Raiden. We got Johnny Cage was not the same character. I mean, he was in it for a second. Bridget Wilson said no to the script because she didn't like it, so we got Sandra Hess. I guess that's really it. Liu Kang and Kitana returned, Robin Shao and Talisa Soto. Hooray. So anyway, as they're going through these giant ball things, we get the Smoke versus Liu Kang fight, and this fight's really bad, but when you look at it against the other fights in the movie, it's probably one of the better fights in the movie.
The only recollection I have of this fight, because there were so many fights and it was just sensory overload, but not in a good way, is that the Predator?
Which, fun fact, the cyber ninjas in Mortal Kombat were based off of the design of the Predator.
So that either means it's really obvious or I just have a good eye.
We do get Kitana using her fans, kind of, in the scene. She kind of opens them up, and that's about it.
She opens them up, and I think my favorite part about that is I was like, I know this! And she's fighting, but the only time you really see her using them is in the background, and it's very much fan, 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 fan. And I was cracking up because I want to focus on Liu Kang in the foreground, but there are these big blue fans behind him just kind of
she doesn't
and they're not even
she doesn't slice anyone with them, she doesn't throw them, and then the fight ends with Sub-Zero showing up. But it's not Sub-Zero from the first one, Bi-Han.
Bamboozled.
It's Sub-Zero Kuai Liang, his brother, the one who is mostly used in the franchise. They did take this from the games, I guess. The sole purpose of this movie was they just shat it out to make money. And the costume design is awful. It looks like some costumes that you pick up at Spirit Halloween.
I would argue the costumes, from what I know of the characters, are more accurate, but like he said,
but it looks way better in a video game.
They look
than
very,
it
but they
does
look,
in a big budget movie.
But what I'm getting to is, yes, they look very accurate to what the cartoon depiction on the screen is for a video game character, but they didn't think about how to make it look real.
Yeah.
So they look, like you said, like a Spirit Halloween costume or like literally a piece of foam on this character's body.
We get Sub-Zero telling him that he's coming to help Liu Kang, and then Scorpion shows up with 2 living spears this time. Get over here! And we get Sub-Zero make this like ice bridge, and we get Scorpion and Sub-Zero fighting on this
This
ice
was my
bridge
favorite
scene.
part of the movie. It's my favorite part.
To be honest,
for so many reasons. It gives me 2 reasons.
This fight scene, the bridge, I don't know if it was intended to break, but it breaks. And you can see that they're trying to, like, fight on the bridge but not fall. Like, you can see that the actors are, like, trying to remain in character and fight but not fall off the bridge.
Oh my god, I can't wait to get into this. So, my favorite thing. Yes, the bridge breaks. They're kind of falling but kind of fighting. Liu Kang is kind of jumping, which again, all of the fighting effects in this were very poorly done because he goes to jump real high. He just kind of yeet, and this bridge is breaking and you're like, oh, it's a bridge that was made of ice, but it looks like it was made of styrofoam.
Because it probably was.
And it probably was, which is fine, but there are ways to not make it look like that. So it's falling and it's like, neat, neat, and it just kind of like topples over, and it's supposed to be scary, but they're like on top of each other, and it's just so bad.
And
which
then,
leads up to the best part of the scene.
When Sub-Zero is about to die and Liu Kang has to save him, and it leaves Katana vulnerable, which then Scorpion teleports and grabs Katana and calls them suckers.
Oh my god. There's so much about this that I cannot explain in my little pure baby heart. The fact that this guy kidnaps this woman who is completely capable of defending herself. But I digress. He's just like, haha, see ya, suckers. And I was like, there's nothing more 90s, there's nothing more teenage boy, and nothing just like less important than saying, see ya, suckers.
When we were watching it and it happened, Alexa looked so confused and she was like, did he just call them suckers? It's like, yeah, he did. And then Sub-Zero doesn't even help the rest of the time. He's like, thanks for saving my life.
He just dips.
See ya. Sonya goes to find Jax. They get to this, I don't know, this like Special Forces base, I guess.
I don't know how she found him, because Raiden's just like, go find your partner, you're going to need him. And she's like, got it, boss. And then all of a sudden, she just shows up at this military base, this, I guess, scientific lab where he's getting metal arms put on, and there's nobody in there at all. It's just Jax on an operating table under a big light, and we're sitting there, and he's like, why is he by himself? I'm like, yeah, wait a minute, why is he by himself?
There's no one there.
There's
He's
no
got
one
these
guarding
arms
him, there are no doctors,
the arms look
nothing.
terrible. I mean, they were just the sleeve that he put on.
Yeah.
Cyrax shows up with some more ninjas. They have this fight. So it's like a Jax and Sonya versus Cyrax fight. It's bad. We do get the, Cyrax does use his net, which they turned into like, I don't know, some like acid net thing. I guess that is one of his finishers, I think. Sonya beats him by blowing like the flammable dust, which is a nod to her Kiss of Death move, by blowing the flammable dust at Cyrax, and he explodes in the quietest explosion you've ever heard.
My dislike of the way that these films portray Sonya is just maximized here in this film. Because in the last one, at least we had Bridget Wilson,
Yes.
who I think is a good actress. She did the best she could with what she was given, and that's fine. Like, the way that we write, characters now is completely different from back then. But this character, they were like, oh, Sonya also, she just wears booty shorts, which is fine. She looks great. But she just wears booty shorts, and no bra. No one was wearing a bra.
No one wears a bra in this movie.
And it's very confusing to me because you're all fighters, and as far as I know, if you're a female fighter, let us know in the comments. You wear a bra, right? Those get in the way. She becomes this like teenage girl, damsel in distress, and she doesn't let her partner, who I would assume knows almost everything about her, he hasn't seen her in however long it's been since Mortal Kombat, And she just doesn't let him in on anything. She's just like, hey, I came to pick you up. We gotta go now. And he's like, cool, where are we going? She was like, Johnny asked me where I was going once. He's like, who's Johnny?
Nobody told me why Johnny had to die.
What is it with you? And who the hell is Johnny?
She was apparently in love with this man that she knew for 2 days. She reminds me of a character from, like, the OC, where, like, everything is like, doo. It's rough. It's real rough to watch, because I'm supposed to take her seriously, and I just can't. I'm pretty sure I blacked out all of her scenes from there on.
From there, we get Liu Kang. He goes to find Nightwolf. He finds Nightwolf.
I actually liked Nightwolf.
Nightwolf was one of the best parts of the movie, I think, and that says a lot. His character looked cool, and I don't know, he comes out with his dumb animality. He's like, "It's my animality.
It's my animality."
I believe Nightwolf is like, you'll come to 3 tests, and like in the movie, Liu Kang only comes to 1. They don't. It's kind of like what they tried to do with the first one, but the other 2 tests never happen. It's just because they have a horrible script. And then all of a sudden, Liu Kang fights Jade. We get this weird sexual tension scene where she's like trying to seduce him, and
this part cracked me up because she's coming out in the snow. She's got like no clothes on. I'm like, girl, are your feet cold? Do you live here? I'm confused. It's chilly. And she's just like, I'm Jade. And then she takes his head into her boobs and is like, are you feeling better now? And he's like, so much better. Wait, my heart belongs to another. And I'm like, you guys were like feeling awkward being like this close to each other in your hamster wheel. So I don't know who you actually think your heart belongs to, but okay.
And then when Liu Kang denies Jade, then they fight. And
she
then
was mad. He blue-balled her.
And that fight was bad also.
I don't remember
None of the
anything.
fights in this movie are good.
I don't remember anything about any of the fights except for the first one because it legitimately reminded me of watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when they would just fight all the putties.
Jade transforms into her, like, her outfit, which doesn't look anything like her actual outfit. She tells Liu Kang that this was one of Nightwolf's tests.
The part about this that I do remember is that he fights her, he wins, and then he's back in the desert. She was in the snow. So Nightwolf, like, transfer him to the snow, and then he is back in the desert after that. He was like, wait, what? And I kind of just...
I think that was Jade's trick, but I don't know.
I don't know, but I kind of just wish that
it wasn't even a Nightwolf test, because she's bad. She was just telling him that. Then we get Sonya versus Melina. And I have some thoughts about this. They really threw this fight in here to be like, let's make 2 women mud fight. If Melina's supposed to be a clone of Katana, why not just make Talisa Soto be Melina? Because Sonya's like, Katana, when she shows up, and she looks nothing like her.
Katana? You wish.
She said that and I was like, why is she asking if she's Katana? Because again, I have no idea who she's supposed to be. And she's like, LOL, no, silly. And I was like, she doesn't sound like her, she doesn't look like her, she's wearing pink.
My assumption is that they brought, I don't even know who plays Melina, they brought her in because maybe she was a martial artist, and Talisa Soto, as we've seen in this movie and the last movie, cannot fight. That's probably why they did it. But at least you could have put her in the first part of the scene and then just had some stunt double come in. But Sonya wins, and then we get this dragon tattoo, which I didn't even talk about before. Apparently the dragon tattoos allow people to pass through the realms, and it's the seal of Shao Kahn, and that's why Shao Kahn can pass through realms. And then later we find out, skipping ahead, sorry, but later we find out that Raiden and Shao Kahn are brothers, and he has the tattoo also, and then those tattoos are just a fake tattoo that Shao Kahn gave to his people so that they can travel through the realms. It's fucking stupid and exhausting, and I'm mad that I had to recap this.
I'm so tired.
Then we get Raiden consults with the Elder Gods, who there are 3 of
His
them.
grandparents
and then
who decided to get dressed up and get off the couch for once.
Which also, I feel like I should mention, in the games, Shao Kahn and Raiden are not brothers. So there's that. Unless it's Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. For some reason, that game adopted this storyline. I don't know why.
They want to spice things up.
Probably because that game is just as bad as this movie. So anyway, Raiden gets a new haircut for no reason. He just shows up. I feel like the actor was probably just like, I don't want to wear that wig anymore. And the director was probably like, it's a new look.
It's a new look.
Raiden makes a portal to go to Outworld. Shao Kahn and Sindel are after them. Raiden has to fight 3 raptors, like the reptiles race. And there's a lot of... This fight is equally as bad. There's a lot of like spinning and kicking and not hitting anything. And it's kind of just like, what's happening? And then all of a sudden Raiden wins. I don't even think you see him knock out like 1 or 2 of them. They're just all down, and it's just...
Like, I remember watching this, but I literally cannot remember what it looks like. Whenever you say raptor, I realize this is not the case, but I'm just imagining the raptors from Jurassic Park instead.
That probably would have been better. Okay, we're getting there.
So many fights. I'm so tired.
At one point in the movie, Rain shows up. And and this is not really that important, but it is important to what we're about to talk about. At one point in the movie, Rain, who was there for like a second, shows up and is like, "We have captured Stryker and Cabal," who are not in the movie, and they just make mention of them. Shao Kahn asks Rain, he's like, "Did you make them beg for mercy before you killed them," or something like that? And Rain is like, "No, they're alive." Like, I don't know. Whatever. This happened. Rain was like, "Yeah, they're still alive." And he's like, "Rain, this will never happen again." Which, like, if you captured them, can't you just kill them now or torture them? I don't know. And then he knocks Rain into this fiery pit and Rain dies.
It'll never happen again.
Flash forward ahead to where we are now, where Liu Kang finally finds Katana's, where Katana's being held captive. The Tarkatans are there, the Baraka's race, so Liu Kang fights like a few of them, and they look bad again because their mask is just... I mean, actually, they probably look better than most of the other characters in this movie. Liu Kang winds up kicking he defeats the 2 of them, or however many there are, I'm exhausted doing this review. He kicks one of them off, and they just take... They didn't even like film Baraka falling into the fire pit. They just take the footage they have of Rain and use that as him dying into the fire pit. Oh, Talisa Soto's fantastic performance.
It's a trap, Lou. Leave.
Oh, from here they save Katana, and then they have to fight Shao Kahn. I want to talk real quick about Shao Kahn.
We didn't even talk about her mom.
We're gonna get there.
Who I didn't know was her mom for like part of the movie.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
great.
there's so much
So
going
when
on.
Raiden fought the Raptors, then that's when like Sindel attacked them, and Jade was like, "I knocked her out suspiciously. You know, it was a trap." And then she screams and does her like, she does like this weird spinny thing to make like a whirlwind as she laughs. And I don't even think it does anything. I don't even know what that did.
I don't know.
But Katana tries to use her love to break the spell that's binding the realms together, and it doesn't work. So even that plot line, it didn't make any sense.
What about the lady that had she was like a demon lady, and she also had like 4 arms, but she looked really bad.
Oh, Shiva.
She got smacked.
That's right. So Shiva apparently was supposed to have a bigger role in the movie, and she didn't do shit. After they freed Katana, she just jumps onto the platform, and then the cage that was holding Katana falls down and crushes her, and then that's all that we get of Shiva.
Yep.
Why even have her in the movie if that's all you're gonna do? $30 million budget in this movie. The first movie had a $20 million budget, and it did not show that this movie had $10 million more dollars. I don't know where that money went to. Probably cocaine.
That money probably went to having as many actors as you possibly could on screen at one
But they're
time.
all like D and C list actors that we've never even seen or heard from before or again.
This is so much energy.
So the final fight scene, Liu Kang, Shao Kahn. There's so many parts of this movie.
This movie
where it
has
goes all
broken us.
over.
And I will say, within the first recording,
Because now I'm
this,
forgetting things. I feel like our first recording was way more tighter than this.
No, I actually like how much it's just completely broken us down. I feel
It's
like
chaotic, just like this movie is.
if I were to pick an alignment for this film, it would be chaotic evil. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe chaotic neutral. It just doesn't care.
Okay, wait. So there was a point that I was gonna make, and I don't even remember what it is now or care.
You were talking about the final battle.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about before the final battle something that I forgot about. Liu Kang.
This is actually where I took a nap in the movie.
Nightwolf. Alright, so Nightwolf was like, you have to unlock your animality.
Feel your animality.
There's this whole thing of like Liu Kang has to find his animality, which doesn't fit into the movie at all anyway.
Yeah.
So then we have, also, animalities are one of the worst things about Mortal Kombat. Alright, that's why they were only in one game, and I know that's a hot take, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but they look shitty in the game, and they look shitty in this movie. I don't care. That's why you've never seen them since then. And guess what? In the next Mortal Kombat, they'll probably come back. Because they brought back friendships and they brought back balalities. Anyway, Liu Kang has to fight Shao Kahn. Sonya goes up against Ermac. And I guess that's Noob Saibot that comes out of Ermac. Sindel fights Kitana and Jax fights Motaro in the final battle. It's one giant final battle. It goes back and cuts back and forth. Basically the three smaller battles, which is Ermac, and Sonya, Sindel, Kitana, Jax, Motaro, they kind of like conclude before Liu Kang fights Shao Kahn. Also, real quick, Shao Kahn kills Raiden. You find out that they're brothers. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Liu Kang and Shao Kahn fight as dragons.
Liu Kang turns into his animality. Shao Kahn turns into his animality, which is a Hydra. Liu Kang, we all know, is a dragon. And they barely fight. They kind of like yell at each other for a little bit.
I don't think they yell at each other. They just kind of go like this.
And then I think something happens where they both fall. They kind of like grapple, and then they fall. And this is like bad PS1 graphics CGI. And then they both fall down, and then they continue the fight as humans. I'm like, why would you even do that? Why even include this? It doesn't make any sense. Jax beats Motaro. He finds out he doesn't need his arms to do it. He can do it all himself. Kitana beats Sindel. Sonya beats Ermac. Jax helps with Noob. Sonya cracks Ermac with her legs, this time standing. Because that's all she does in these movies.
Now, Sonya.
Then we get the final fight. Liu Kang wins. Shao Kahn's dad, who we didn't even mention, who is credited as Shinnok in this movie, and looks nothing like Shinnok from the games.
Is an old white dude.
Yeah, he gets like put away by the Elder Gods in this like block prison thing. Also, there was 3 Elder Gods when Raiden went to meet them: Wind, Fire, and Water. And then at the final battle, it was like Wind had something else to do. He wasn't there.
He didn't want to come. He's like, I don't want to go to that party. I want to stay home. I want to be in my pajamas. You guys have fun. And just tell me how it was. I'm going to stay home.
Liu Kang wins. We all know it was going to happen. And then everyone...
I didn't know.
Everyone cheers. Raiden's like, thanks. And then Raiden gets promoted to Elder God status at the end. And he's like... He gives them like the most basic of messages that you get when you're like 5 years old. He was like, be good to one another.
And remember, be there for one another.
And then he just disappears, and then it ends. It just ends. It's like, that's it. This is the movie.
It was a rough ride. I really wanted to like it, mostly out of spite, because I kept hearing you say how bad it was, and I was like, I want to love it.
In my opinion, it's
not,
one of the worst movies ever made.
It is not B-movie bad. It's just
bad.
And it starts as B-movie bad. And it also, again, like the beginning had that like really high energy, but high energy, like, let's just fight and punch everything. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be real silly. I'm down to clown. And I, again, halfway through was like, the music is making me tired. Like, when you have that much like upbeat, like techno madness going for the entirety. How long was this movie? An hour and a half?
Yeah, it wasn't very long. I think it's an hour and 20 minutes or something.
By the end, again, I tuckered myself out. My heart rate was probably way too high for someone who was at a resting pace.
Quick trivia, Quan Chi was supposed to show up in this movie, but he didn't. In fact, I think they filmed a scene with him, and he's on some of the promotional material for it, but the scene didn't make the cut, and he looks just as bad as everyone else does in the movie. I mean, Rich DeVizio, who played Quan Chi in Mortal Kombat mythologies in the movie cutscenes for PlayStation, looks better as Quan Chi than whoever they had in this movie makeup for Quan Chi.
Everything that first movie did right, which was the practical effects, where they tried, some of the actors and the acting, and some of the
set
balance,
designs.
The set design, the balance between this is a movie for kids who play video games and this is a movie for adults who play the video games, but we want to market it to everyone, was not here. It wasn't here. There was no.
It's just a mess. It's such a mess. It's such a mess. It's such a they have. You could tell that whoever was making the whole crew of whoever was making this movie had no idea what they were doing or what they wanted to do, what they wanted to accomplish. I really feel like the budget's $30 million. I really feel like $20 million was used on cocaine, and the other $10 million was them high trying to put this movie together.
Everything,
and just knowing that it would make money regardless.
Everything was on a green screen. There was no character development of any kind. Information was just thrown at you, and whether you got it or not was irrelevant because it was just thrown at you and then they moved on. Nothing was processed. There was no beginning, middle, and end. It was just a long run-on sentence of fight.
Okay, so let's rate it. So how many punches are we going to give this?
I am not going to give it a full punch. I am going to give it a punch as if the only thing I had on my hand were my pinky.
So that's 1/5 of a punch.
Yes.
And I am going to give it 1/8 of a punch.
Ow! It's official. You suck.
Oh, so I guess if we're ranking this against Mortal Kombat 1995, it's gonna have to go at the bottom. Our current standings: Mortal Kombat 1995, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Next time, we are going to take a look at the animated movie Mortal Kombat Legends: Scorpion's Revenge.
And I already know where that falls.
And we're gonna put this against these two movies, and we'll see how that stacks up.
Right.
So join us next time on our next review. If you enjoyed this, it would mean a great deal to us if you could give it a big thumbs up. If you like more Mortal Kombat lore and story, head on over to my channel, MK Tempo, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And let me know your thoughts of Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
How many punches do you give this
How many punches
punchable
do you
movie?
give this? And until then, we'll see you next time.